I'm going to ask everybody now, whoever has plans to share, hopefully people were working on their skyscapes and can share. I got one done, nightscapes, I mean. I did get one done and I was amazed at how long it took. Yeah, Deborah, so use the raise hand features, how we'll do that. That's under reactions, wherever you are on your computer, put your hand up. I'm happy to start. I also, thanks to, oh, good. Let's see, Candy's here. She gave me some ideas using luminescent watercolors, which I want to play with while we're doing this. I got the Daniel Smith dot cards with all their luminescence, which is so fun. I'm like completely geeking out on it now. So why don't we, so Deborah, you are co-host. Let's start with Deborah and then we'll do Susan Forsberg, then Avery. I'll share mine too. And kind of the trials and tribulations. And so
Okay.
let me spotlight you. Let's see. Hold
Okay.
on. Okay, there we go.
There we go. This, I'll move it in. Actually, it looks pretty good on my computer. On Halloween, the sky was just incredible with alto cumulus clouds behind the moon, and then
Yes, very happy.
Hold on, let me see who that is. Pause for a minute, Deborah. I need to find who that is and mute them. Everybody mute, because I'm gonna mute you if you're not. Okay, thanks. Go ahead, Deborah. Sorry.
Okay, that's okay. In any regard, the bottom silhouettes are trees there, and it just was very eerie looking. And there's, like I said, the alto cumulus behind the moon, and then in front of it there was some stratocumulus clouds. And the color went from kind of a turquoisey blue to yellow, then to pink, and then it, it spread out from there. I'll show you the what was kind of wild about it. There, oh, it doesn't show up very good. The neighbor had a yard decoration that looked like a skeleton, and I went out to see it, but I was more interested in the clouds, and it's a little too bright, at least on my screen.
Were they mammatus clouds?
That I don't know. But in any regard, just to remind people that I'm the newbie, so this is one of my first all watercolor, and I just used Daniel's. I'm sorry, Winsor Newton. The travel kit that I have, and then I used Roseanne's journal, and I think that's 90-pound copy.
It is. That's 90 pound.
It's
90-pound B paper. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cold press 90.
So what I learned from this was I did it on dry in the beginning because I wanted control, but for the rest of it, it was, I needed to wet it. So I just spritzed it with a sprayer, and then that was helpful, but it was, yeah. Anyhow, I think my neighbor was disappointed. I was more interested in the sky than
Hey, I really like you did a great job. The colors are super well blended. I think that's one of the hardest things when you're doing skies, especially the darks. And when you try to throw in the bright moon, that's super hard. Well done. Nicely done. I hope you're happy with it.
Yeah, it's a good first start. So it's encouraging me to try more.
Yay. Oh, good. Thank you. Let's see. I'm going to remove spotlight there. And then we said Susan. And then after Susan, we'll do Avery, and then I'll go. Let's see. There we go. Spotlighted Susan now.
Hi.
Hi, Susan.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say what I was up to was my girlfriend came over and we were painting together, and she had two new brushes, And I'm gonna hold them up and you can, normally these are Da Vinci Casaneo brushes that I regularly paint with. And she showed up with the same size, but they were much longer. And I had never painted with them before. And I also had new paper to paint with that I was excited to try. So I did, well, I thought they were being night scenes, but this was on handmade paper.
Ooh,
I was using in Dance Rain Blue, which is that deep dark blue. It looked darker until it dried. Um, it's not a color I normally use, so I was pretty excited about that. This is a handmade paper from Montreal. And another one I got into circles was, whoops, I gotta hold it right side up. I tried to do the Northern Lights.
that's nice.
And again, I used the Dance Rain Blue, and it seemed like it was dark at the time because I'm not used to it. But now I'm looking at it, it's like, well, that's not as dark as a night could be, but that's
So
what I did.
would you have used, now in retrospect, you would use more pigment then to make
Well,
sure
you
it's
can see
darker?
where I got it darker, and I guess
Yeah.
I had pre-wet the paper, so where it was dry,
It
was
migrated
darker,
over,
and
yeah.
then that got thinned out with a little bit of water. And
How
these
did
were,
you get the colors so nicely bright within the dark? That's a very
Yeah.
difficult thing to do.
um,
So that your bright greens and your magentas of the Northern Lights are really popping out of the dark. How
I,
did you do that?
well, it was wet first, and I just, I put the color in and I painted around it. Like I had the blue up there, but when I didn't have anything in here, and when I put those colors in, of course, it would run to the part that was already wet.
So because in Danthrine is it can lift fairly well. It's not super lift. It does move on the paper. So when the new water hit it, it looks like it pushed it out.
Well,
a bit.
I don't have any experience with Dancing. As I said, I
Yeah.
own it, but I don't paint with it. So that was all brand new. And this paper on the, it's a block of paper actually, which is a good thing. And it raised like way up and then it dried flat, which amazed me. But there is no content as to what this paper is on the,
Oh,
I don't know. I mean, I suppose if they had cotton in it, they'd tell you. But for a not knowing paper, I was quite impressed with it.
yeah,
And
that looks really nice. Really
well,
rich.
it's not your normal, the way the Northern Lights go with the stream going through it. I just wanted, I was just trying to get the color in there and then the reflection on the snow, which I was happy with.
Did you do the whole thing wet and then the trees you added last?
Yes, and I was very careful, like you can see where I kind of fuzzed out the bottoms so
Yeah.
that they were in the snow and then coming down, like a hill or something.
You know
I
what? I'm really
totally-
loving the round too. I'm
Beautiful.
really loving the round.
I totally made it up.
That can be helpful.
I made both, I made both of these up and whoops, let's get it. The thing is you grab a circle and you can just like have it any which way. So, but I really had fun playing with these long brushes. And while my girlfriend was here, I phoned the store and ordered a couple for myself because it was the first time I ever painted with these. And what was really neat, because they were so long and so weird and the paper was so new, I felt like I was way more whimsical, like whatever. When I was painting, I have a tendency to probably be a little bit more careful than that. And
Yes, absolutely. That is so true. When I let go, I'm sure other people are nodding. It's like when you're just like playing instead of being serious. Sometimes the best work happens.
well, first of all, I don't like snow.
Oh,
I don't like snow at all. And my daughter even looked at this one because I splattered it with white and she said, "Oh, you put snow in there. And it was just like, yeah, I guess I did. I was just going for the white splatter to lighten it up a little bit.
Oh, looks good. Did you use gouache for the white splatter?
I did. I used the permanent white designer's gouache from Winsor and Newton.
I've been told that that is a much denser white. That's a really good white to use when you want to do stuff like that. I've got the Caran d'Ache gouache. That's a mouthful. And the white, the white bleeds a lot, and you put it over something dark, and it shows what's under it. Oops.
Well, I've been using the Winsor and Newton designers gouache, but
Okay.
they also make a zinc white, which is what they sell with their set of gouache for blending. And the permanent white is definitely stronger, whiter. I actually went in there and dabbed a couple of whites, like of the dots out because they were too much. I used a Q-tip just to get them out of there.
Oh, okay.
But the designer's permanent white is by far the best one that I've found so far, without, you know, the zinc whites for mixing, and the designer, it's not a titanium white, it's a permanent white.
That's probably why it's a little
Yeah.
more.
And I've been using it for years, like for the dot in the eye, or, you know, the highlight.
Nice. Thank you. Those were awesome.
Well, they were fun, and it was close to a nightscape.
Very. I want to try the Northern Lights thing. I'm thinking about playing with that for a Christmas card idea. So I guess I better
Well,
hurry.
the thing to keep it bright is just don't have any other color near it.
Mhm.
Like,
But I'm so curious.
that was-
I'm gonna try to practice. I'm curious how it pushed that and danthering back. That's super cool. I like that.
Well, the Endancerine went there first.
Yeah,
Oh,
but it was wet, so that's
Susan might have turned it upside down for a little while.
oh, that's a good idea.
I possibly could have. I don't remember now. This was back on the 17th of November, and
Okay.
if it wasn't even earlier today, I might not remember. Memories do funny things to you. But
They do.
if you're interested in trying out brushes, that having that, like, you can see how much longer they are.
So those are all Da Vinci, but those are the new longer ones.
Da Vinci Casaneo.
Custom. Okay, I want to write that in the chat.
Casaneo.
What's the advantage of having the longer brush?
Yeah, this is series 490. The short one is 498. Like, this is their regular size.
So say that again, for the Casaneo, what is the number?
The long one is 490. The regular size is 498.
Okay, 498, putting that in the chat.
But I had so much fun painting with them.
So
it-
someone asked about why that extra length would be good, and I could see it as it's extremely expressive and motile. So
Well,
it's going to make nice swoopies, and looks really pointy too.
It's not a floppy brush.
It's
like,
not, so it's not going to, it doesn't do like a.
No, it doesn't do the limp wrist thing. No.
Oh.
But it reminds me, like, I have done a lot of Chinese brush painting.
That's what I was wondering. So it just
and-
holds a lot of paint.
If you want it to, but it doesn't have to.
Doesn't have to.
No, you're not, you know, just because it's longer and whatever. I mean, I painted those trees with it. I painted
Incredibly
tiny-
versatile.
those tiny little trees. So, and my girlfriend was painting watercolor cards, and she used the long brushes to do some delicate line work and stuff, because it would hold, so you'd get a nice, if you wanted long lines. You know,
I can see
it-
that. It almost acts like a,
it would
bigger.
run out. and I have a fondness for the quill brushes too.
Me too.
Yeah, yeah. I one of my favorite movies. She was messing around in her little wicker box of brushes, and there were quill brushes in there, and I went, "Oh, I like those." They look very antique and old, so I went
Yeah.
and looking out for quill brushes, and the first ones I found were the quill squirrel mops.
Yes, that's what I use. So nice.
And then I found these Da Vinci Casaneo brushes, and they are beautiful to paint with.
Okay. No, everyone's like, oh boy, something to ask for Christmas. Yoo-hoo.
Well, the rest of my brushes are all sable. So when I say these are beautiful to paint with, that's comparable to my sable brushes.
Oh, nice.
Anyway,
Thank
that's
you.
enough from me.
Fantastic. Yay. So now that Avery just took a nice mouthful of tea or something, we're
Long day at work, sorry.
yeah, I'm still hydrating. Thank you.
All right, well, I hope it's okay. I usually do a lot of watercolor for my skyscapes, but I didn't have anything available. So I went back to my journals, of which I have a lot. And I found some that were done with pencil and color pencil. So I hope that's okay. So I have it's all about the moon. So I don't know if you can see this. You see that? So this is a journal I did in 2007. And that picture at the top is a picture of thank you, honey, a picture of a hurricane, and the plane is down in the hurricane. That's I guess the hurricane hunters or whatever, and they're looking up, and that's the moon, which I thought was pretty
Wow.
cool.
Oh, and that's the center. That's the eye of the hurricane.
Eye of the hurricane.
Oh.
Yeah, this DC meteorologist put that on her blog. So I was like, I have to print this out and keep it. So I thought that was super cool. So anyway, right at that time, I was getting really interested in the moon. So I did this whole thing on Ode to the Moon. And I did and I got a new pair of binoculars. So you can see the moon really well with binoculars, especially in the winter, because the air is dry and cold and clear. So my husband was telling me, because he studied the moon, about the Terminator, which is right where the edge right there.
Yes.
Where you see all the shadows. And you can see all the craters. That's the best place to look with your binoculars. And some of the craters are 17,000 feet deep.
Wow.
Super, super cool. So you want to get out there with your binoculars, look at the moon. It's so cool. So, and then I had, my daughter did a project in middle school on night sky. So we spent a lot of time outdoors in the cold in the wintertime looking at the night sky. But I have this one is the moon with Mars and Orion's belt.
Oh, nice.
Right here. This is
So how did you do those? Did you use a resist or did you remove paint?
This is just color pencil.
How does it get so
I
easy?
never saw what
Oh, I see. You're using dark paper.
pencil.
Okay,
Color
got it.
pencil.
Got it.
On color paper.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's
That's a great
color
idea.
paper. And so there's Orion's belt, and there's Mars, which it looks red, and here's the moon. And then I had this one little story here for this thing here. I don't know if you can see it very well, but I was out with my dog one night. When you have a dog, you have to go out in any kind of weather and walk them. And so I was out in a snowstorm, and I was out in front of my front yard, and I was looking up at the sky, and even though it was snowing, I could see the moon up here, and the clouds were whipping by like 50 miles an hour. I mean, it was just amazing. But the moon showed for a little bit, and then it started going into clouds, and it got faded out, and then here totally disappeared. So I did kind of a time lapse. It took about a minute for it to disappear. So it just showed for like a minute. So I thought it would be fun to do a time lapse, because I've seen that in journals and stuff. So that was
really cool.
It's really neat.
yeah, really cool. It was I've never been out there except for my dog. And because my dog needed to be walked and stuff. So that I didn't, you would think you would see the moon in a snowstorm, but I did. So that was kind of cool. And I just did it in color pencil on blue paper. And then I
Very
wanted
interesting.
to share, which was in 2018, we had the blood moon, the super blue blood moon.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
And it was 17 times bigger or whatever, and I could see it out my windows of my living room, which had like windows up near the ceiling. And so I did this on like blue cardstock with colored pencil, and it didn't turn red where we were. It just turned yellow, really like dark yellow. And then I had the kind of, it was like glowing on the trees here. I don't know if you can see it in this picture.
Oh,
but-
yeah.
Oh, I like that
Yeah.
addition. That really is nice.
And that was like
Mhm.
2:30 in the morning or something. And I also had a ring around the moon, which usually means the weather's going to change. Like you're going to get like,
Yeah,
snow.
there's moisture in the,
Yeah. So that was something that happens. I don't know. Let's see. Let me look here. The last time it happened was 1866, where the
oh, wow.
so this was a special event here. So that's, I haven't done that much with the night sky, so I have to tell you. So that's all I had was in color pencil. So that's my stuff.
Nice. I like that. And that just reminds us that how we can be creative with other media too.
Yeah.
Here we
like
are struggling and torturing ourselves with watercolor for night skies. There's other ways we can do it too. I like that. Oh, hey, Danny wants to go next. Let me spotlight you. Thank you so much, Avery. That was awesome.
Thank you.
I also like the kind of visiting your old journals. That was kind of fun.
Yeah.
Okay, Danny.
Yeah, those are great moons. I just have a quick one. I did this, it's with carbon ink. So it's just ink wash, and then scrubbed out a bit. And our night sky, I think we have so much moisture in the air. There's always kind of these veils of layers around it. It always seems like it's very misty.
You're in
and
the
then
Bay Area.
Mars up there. Yeah. So, but just, using ink kind of the same way as watercolor, I even like dabbed some of it out and everything. And then this line set too long and it was there.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
just
Once that
stay
ink,
there.
ink is pretty unforgiving in some instances.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
But it was fun, just kind of slopping around. That was very fun.
Nice. Well
Nice.
done. Let's see, anyone else? Let me see if I can share mine. Oh, I'll do mine and then Katie will do Katie next. Let me see. I'm going to see if I can switch to my overhead camera. Hold on. See if this works. Yeah. Need to move it forward. You can see where I was playing with stuff. So I was trying to do, and this took forever, a capture. It was just like right before dawn, 5:45 in the morning, gorgeous crescent moon in the east. And so the sunrise was illuminating, of course, the bottom, but there was also enough ambient a light that you could see texture in the moon as well. So, and then dawn was coming, so it was getting kind of yellow down here and just throwing yellowy light. So what was really hard to do was to get the dark, dark, dark sky graded down. So I think that took, and I decided I wanted to try to get that hard edge. It wasn't a soft, glowy moon. It was a hard edge. So I used wax resist. First, I painted a light blue. This is all in Mayan blue. Oh, yeah, it's Mayan blue and then indigo on top, like 47 layers later. It took forever. And then I used wax resist after I laid down a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of just like barely yellow wash. I think I got too much yellow. It would probably pop better if I had just left it white, but it wasn't entirely white. So, and then I was super happy with over time, finally, but it took all morning. I had to paint, let it dry, and then another layer, and then another layer, and another layer, because I wanted to not get any hard edges. So that was hard. but I was super happy with the way the trees came out too.
Yeah.
I like that. So, but you know, after doing that, I was like, oh man, I guess I'm not very patient. It's just like, that was just forever. But I want to try. I saw some of the stuff that Candy put. She's Meadowlark online, and love the stuff she was doing with the sparklies and luminescence. Look at these paints. Wowzers. I mean, like, this duo cactus flower, duochrome cabo blue, pearlescent white. Just, you could do some really cool effects. So, and then I was thinking of combining that with the Primatex, which I love, you know, to get, I don't know, get some really beautiful, like black tourmaline, which actually a tiny bit sparkly. So that's cool. Okay, let's see.
Roseanne,
Yeah.
someone asked, what did you use for the trees?
Oh,
Jan asked that.
good question. Thank you. So the trees, I mixed in burnt sienna with the Mayan blue to make a really black. Yeah, it's pretty dense. Great. Let's do Katie next. Hey, there you go.
It's kind of funny to go after you, Roseanne, but I'm still gonna do it.
Oh my goodness, don't worry about that. Goodness, we're all learning.
That's exactly what I'm missing, but that's a learning, I guess, experience. So I'm gonna just switch my camera.
Cool.
I wonder if maybe I switch it this way. This is my summer work. We were lucky to be on water on the lake, and every time we would get the rise of the moon, I would be excited to paint it, and I was very scared for a while. So that was my first attempt,
yes, it's lovely.
You know, I don't know. It was very scary. I don't have patience like you to paint it me, as you can see, and maybe there's some, like, I still not sure how to make it maybe blend more like a light, you know, glowing light.
We can have some people chime in with that, and you know, go ahead and speak out if you can answer to what Katie is saying here. How would you have made the blending of that, made the moon more blend?
Because you see, I tried to make it darker, but the moon with some clouds, but still the moon is like more like a collage.
I like this. You're really, I like how impressionistic it is as well. You know, it might not be what you had in your mind maybe, but from the standpoint of those of us looking at it, it's actually really cool. There's a lot of beautiful texture, and your expressive brush marks, I really like. I know it's not, you're saying you didn't want that effect of the moon. So if anyone can suggest how she might have gotten maybe just a little bit more of the blending, more wet on wet, perhaps.
Yeah, I would, this is Candy. I would say wet on wet. I don't know what type of paper you're using. If it's a watercolor paper, is it more like a Bristol? Yeah, it's watercolor. I would do wet on wet.
So meaning, so you get the, and this is hard. It looks like you're doing a fairly large page, which can be very challenging because it's going to, I guess it's a medium, about, looks like a 9x6-ish.
That's 7 by 10. So it's just.
So
that's medium size.
Yeah, it's a fair amount of real estate to work quickly, because when you're doing wet on wet, you need to move pretty quickly. Where are you located in the world?
I'm in Ontario, Canada.
Okay, so it's not, sometimes if you're in a very dry climate and you're trying to paint quickly, wet and wet, it can be frustrating when it dries quickly.
No, we are a lake region.
Okay, so you paint outside where it's nice and humid.
So rather than wet on wet, I would, the degree of how wet it is makes a difference on how much it's going to blend in. So if it was just damp, then the yellow would have had a bit of a halo around it in yellow.
Yeah, okay,
But
so
really, like if you're going wet in wet, it's like everything in watercolor, it depends on how much water you use. And I really like this style.
Yes.
You're just starting out, but I like Roseanne say, don't lose that style, don't lose that, because it has so much character and energy, like
yeah,
and even the excitement that you were feeling when you saw it and wanted to paint it.
I
So-
agree. Thank you for saying that too. Really, really cool.
I have heard,
Thank you.
and I think I've noticed this myself, although I don't do much watercolor painting, but I've heard that Canson XL does not react as well to washes, that it absorbs more quickly so that your washes don't spread on that paper as much as it might on another paper. So you might just experiment with some other kinds of watercolor paper and see if you get a different effect.
Yeah, hey, Katie, one
Yeah.
thing I did, you know, that was a finished part in my journal, that little Skyscapito I did, but I had about 14 other ones I did on another piece of paper that wasn't in my journal that I just kept doing over and over until I figured out, okay, this is gonna work. So you might want to just try different papers, try different paints, but also don't be too hard on yourself. Although if you want to, you know, learn how to get that moon, then I think it was Candy who was saying a little bit painting more quickly on a heavier paper that's damp, a paper that flows well, and they are all really, really different. So nice job and great share.
If you're in the Great Lake District of Ontario, it has a lot of moisture, so you're not in a dry zone. It's not like a desert. Where are you
No.
exactly in Ontario?
I'm in the Toronto area, but that was painted a little bit to the north.
Okay. Well, I grew up in London, so I'm familiar with Ontario and Northern Ontario as well.
So it's a Simcoe, it's like Simcoe.
Yeah,
So it's,
yeah. But it's
not
not
too far, but
yeah, it's still not, it's not what I would call a dry zone. Yeah.
Yeah, guys,
No.
when I was teaching myself watercolor here in the Arizona desert, it was early summer, like 2% humidity.
Oh, wow.
And I just couldn't figure out why I couldn't do watercolor, because it just, everything sucked. And I found out later, I finally got a good teacher online who was like, that's because it's drying in about 30 seconds and you're just not getting any wet and wet. So I finally learned how to control the water. Watercolor is water and pigment, and you controlling that is key. And it's hard. It's not easy.
Well, for you, Roseanne, you'd have to really be wet into wet. It'd have to be stopping so it wouldn't dry out on you.
And use thicker paper. So if you use thinner paper, and it's like, if I'm outside and I'm trying to do that, then I just have to plan for it, or not try something that's really big. Because I'm not going to get a great wash if it's really, really hot and it's drying quickly. I mean, I might get one try.
I'm not as
I just-
dry. Oh, I was gonna say, I'm not as dry as you, Roseanne. And that I was afraid that I wouldn't have any control. So that's why I used the spritzer bottle just to spritz the paper. But I did have to do it many times, many
Yes.
times as I was.
That's a good tip,
Yeah.
to use a little spray bottle, and make sure you get
Oh.
one that has a super fine mist, so you're not sending big blobs of water onto
Yeah.
your paper, which will create something entirely different. Somebody asked in the chat how I did the wax resin.
Yeah.
it's a fun little tip. If you want to be pretty precise, I mean, there is such a thing called frisket, which is something you paint on. I'm lazy and I also don't like to carry a lot of stuff in my bag. I try to keep it light. So I actually use, I have a pocket in my journal, and I keep wax paper. So put the waxy side down. So be sure you mark the top. So you know, and don't do what I did. I wrote a T on it thinking that would tell me it was the top, right? Because T looks the same whether it's, yeah.
Oh,
Anyway, so you put that down and then use a dull pencil and scribe whatever it is you don't want to get the paint on. And it works pretty darn well, and it's super light and everybody has it. It's great for field sketching, right? It's not a studio thing.
Can I guess another suggestion?
Yeah.
A white oil pastel.
Ooh.
Also works really well.
So like in a pencil or a,
No, it's like an actual crayon, white oil pastel crayon.
and
that I
how,
use for
so
separate projects.
I have a question about that because I got a wax crayon, but I can't get it sharp enough for detail.
Well, mainly I've used it for skies,
Uh-huh.
like when I did my sky chart, and also for waves. When I was
Uh-huh.
doing a picture I did with of laughing gulls following a boat. I did it for the white waves or
Yeah.
the foam on the waves, and it worked really well. So
Okay,
it's
that's good to know.
super detailed, but it's good for like stuff like that.
Yeah, I've got like a wax crayon for doing that type of like water highlights, waves. And
Oil pastel is different from a wax crayon, though.
yeah, definitely.
I don't know.
But-
It just seems to work really well.
I'll have to try that. Let's see. Danny, you wanted to chime in?
Yeah, the canson paper is a very a kind of a loose woven paper, so the water is gonna like kind of soak into it pretty quickly. If you're looking for a kind of an inexpensive paper that you can just whip through, this stuff, I don't know if you've ever seen.
That's what we did. You never know.
It's
You
about
try.
$9.
Oh, hold
or
on,
so
hold on,
for-
Danny.
Yeah.
I need to find somebody to mute because somebody's got something in the background and we can't hear you.
Okay.
There, I think we got everybody. Sorry about
Okay.
that. Okay, go
No,
ahead.
it's fine.
Can you please repeat that because
Yeah.
I didn't.
From the top.
Just
Okay. From the top.
I don't know. Everybody let us. Yeah, just say it again because it was kind of distracting.
Yeah. So the canson papers, for the most part, you know, even like their pastel papers and their different kind of papers, they're a very soft paper. So the weave is kind of loose, and so the water just kind of goes into it really quickly. And you know, even like the tinted papers and things like that. This paper is a very inexpensive paper. It's great for if you just want to slap something down and you want to do multiple, like when I'm trying to catch clouds, I just like go through, you know, tons of these, and it's very inexpensive, comes in lots of different sizes and everything. And it's just a good kind of paper to work with, and you can kind of tell, like you can get it really wet.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
there's a lot of water movement. See up here, a lot of water movement. And it's probably only, I'm gonna say maybe a 50-pound paper. So it's super great for just, you know, messing around with.
Okay, that's
and
great.
so I think you would like that a lot. And then, you know, I don't know you guys, like I haven't even opened these yet because they're so precious. But the arches
yeah.
blocks.
I have some that
So-
I've never opened. I'm like,
Yeah, I mean, they're like, these are going for when I'm feeling like I'm on it, you know. And so there's the hot press and then the regular cold press. And they give you so much time to have a good amount of water down, add pigment to your water puddle, take pigment out. it gives you so much time to play with. My last thing maybe is, you know, if you using a hair dryer, a lot of times it's too hot, too fast, too strong, and it spits your pigment around and stuff like that. This is an air gun for crafters, and I think people use it for I don't know, heat
Shrink wrap?
shrinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
So you know what else you can get it for shrink tubing in a hardware store.
That's what I
plumbers use
think.
it.
Yeah, that's what I think. And it has 2 speeds on it. It's very low wattage, and it's not very noisy. I'll test it for you.
Nice.
Heats right up. And so that way you don't have to sit around twiddling your thumbs while your stuff's trying to dry.
Okay, so I should have used that instead of waiting.
Yes.
I'll go root around in my husband's toolkit and see if I'm sure he's got one.
Just don't get the big red one, you know, with the screen on the front of it. No, that'll probably melt your paper.
Danny, did you write the brand of that in the chat for us?
Yeah.
Because then we'll
Absolutely.
have it for people later.
Yeah. Okay.
To refer to. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good hint.
Yeah, I like that. That's fun. Oh, here we go. Thanks, Danny. And
May I ask one question? I wonder if
Sure.
anybody can have a suggestion. My concern with wet on wet when painting a moon is that the yellow is going to mix with the sky color and turn into green. So how do you approach that so that it's, blue stay blue, yellow stay yellow?
yeah, so I would approach it, and the way I did mine, but I used a very, very light yellow, was to let everything dry in between very, very well. So, but some transparent colors are going to pick each other up, even like if you get anywhere close, and you'll end up with hard edges as well. So what you might have to do if you get a hard edge is let it dry, and then very carefully with a clean brush, take away some of the hard edge. A lot of it is more extractive, subtractive sometimes when we're dealing with these. And I think, is anyone else have a better way to do that? Please chime in. Thoughts?
Yeah,
think
I would do it. I would wet the paper, and I would put, in my mind's eye, see where the moonlit path is going to be on the water. I would brush in light yellow, and then come in with my darker blues and put it to the side so that it doesn't go all the way into the yellow, but you're going to have a zone where it's kind of going towards each other. And then let it dry, and then you can re-wet the paper if you want to carry some of the blue across the yellow or the purplish or whatever color you're using. And I think that would work. I'll try doing it, and I'll post it on your
Put it on the
Facebook
Padlet.
page.
That would be great.
Yeah.
also isolating the 2 colors. Wet will not run into dry. So if the moon was painted yellow, the edges were softened, and that was allowed to completely dry. When you put the blue in around it, it's not going to run into the yellow. If you paint the blue over the yellow at any time, even if it's dry, it's still going to turn green.
Yeah.
And yellow moons are obviously challenging, but I isolate what's wet and what's dry. The same thing, like when you were talking about the ring around your moon, I would have painted the sky without using the wax crayon. I would have painted the sky around the white area of the moon and left it dry, and done everything I wanted to the sky, and then come back in after the sky was dry, and then painted on the moon, and not taking it right to the very edge to keep that white edge.
Nice. Those are great tips.
And one comment I wanted to make about a hair dryer. Once you pick up the hair dryer, you're stopping the action of your watercolor. So if you want your watercolor to keep on interacting and doing the watercolor thing, don't take up your hair dryer yet. And the other thing is it's not going to move your color around unless you're holding the hair dryer too close and you've got it on too high a speed.
Then it's going to blow it out, which,
Yeah.
you know, that could play with it. Maybe that's an effect that would work well for you. If it's a perfect circle and you make it really puddly, I don't know, maybe you could get kind of a crazy moon, you know, but sometimes when the moon is looking like it's just got moisture all around it and it's huge, maybe that would be one way to do it. I don't know.
Or then pick up a straw and blow through it.
There you go. Who keeps a straw in their kit? I keep a little
I do.
cocktail straw. Yeah.
I do for crazy paintings.
For crazy. Nice. Well, Anne Bagley would like to, let me spotlight you, Anne. Thank you. Great.
Well, I wanted to play with tone paper because everything has to be done pretty fast. I don't have a lot of time to sketch things. So I thought if I start with tone paper, maybe that'll do part of the work for me.
Great.
So my first one was done on Strathmore Gray.
Nice.
And I live in the San Diego area, so we have always we never have really dark skies. And if there's any clouds, you can walk the streets and see where you're going, you know, just by the light. So I started with a gray. It was a night and I think I have that picture on my phone, but it was a night where there was enough high humidity in the air that there was a halo around the moon. And my real thing is trees, and especially the fan palms that they're actually what do you call it, an invasive species around here.
Oh, are they?
The Mexican fan palms, but I love their silhouettes. So I wanted to there's a monkey puzzle tree down the road from me and a fan palm, and I wanted to get them in the picture. And for the blacks, I used my my brush pens. I've got some Pentel and some other Kuretake brush pens. So I used that to put the trees on the gray. And then I believe it was Chinese white, a Derwent Chinese white pencil to do the clouds. And then the moon wasn't white enough with the pencil. So I went in with correction fluid and just used my correction fluid to make a really white moon there. And I think if you can see it, that's the picture, which I take pictures with my phone.
Nice.
So they aren't really good quality pictures, but at least it was better than trying to stand in the middle of the street to get this shot.
Yeah.
To get the monkey puzzle tree and the fan palm in the same thing. And then I've been playing with Legion papers with their little tiny art papers, and they have a black that's a 90-pound paper. So I'm going to try it next with watercolors because I think
sweet.
Wow.
But this is with watercolor pencils. So I used, again, it was a challenge to find something white enough to really show where the moon was. And this was one of those nights that made me think about that poem, you know, The Highwayman, where it says the moon was a ghostly galleon, because the clouds were just moving and that moon was kind of sailing. And again, I had to get it between two fan palm trunks just to get that silhouette in there. But that one, I got the moon white enough by using a Prismacolor, and the other colors are water soluble pencils, so I could kind of spread them around with my water brush. But that did lead me to, I wanted to try watercolor on this, but I think wash might be better, because when I use the water brush on these watercolor pencils, it just like sucked it in like a sponge, didn't move them around much. So I don't think it has a lot of sizing on it. But that's what I've been experimenting with, is doing things, and watercolor pencils are so much faster for me than whipping out the watercolor. But
Or,
but I'm having fun with these little things. They're 2.5 by 3.5 inches because hardly takes me any time at all to do. Even I've done a couple watercolor. I'm into magnolia pods at the moment. So I did a couple watercolor magnolia pods on these little tiny papers, and I'm liking it. It's kind of fun. Although they were daunting at first because I thought, how can I make anything so tiny? But I'm having fun with those. So
are those the ones that go in the little cards?
no, they're not quite. If they have trading card papers, but
Yeah.
these some have complained about the Strathmore, not Strathmore. I can't remember who makes Legion at the moment. They make this little, it's a sampler of all their different kinds of paper.
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh, what a great idea.
And it's just fun. They've got watercolor paper, they've got all cotton papers, they've got the different 3 pads of different toned papers. And there have been some complaints by others that it's not exactly the same size as the artist trading card, and they wish it was, but it is what it is.
Nice, okay.
And
We've got Carol, oops.
Oh, I was gonna say, could you put that information down in the chat so
Oh,
that?
yes.
Yeah, I have to look up what, wait a minute. Oh, it's Stonehenge. That's who it is.
Okay, so if you could write that in the chat, and then I'm gonna put Carol on. Let's see.
Those are cool.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anne.
Yeah.
Okay, Carol. Okay, shoot.
So I have, I live, it doesn't
Ooh.
show up very well, but I live where I can see this pond out my
Nice.
window. And so this was up in this area, but I don't think you can see, it just doesn't go well, but it has a halo. Now I had that, what I did is I put the blue in and then did not touch it with the yellow. And I guess the way this is, I didn't need to get too close, but I came up close, but I didn't touch it.
Yeah.
So I think that that might be helpful. And I do think that a number of the paper companies, like I don't know who spoke, was that Anne? I
Yeah,
think that's a really good idea to get samples of the paper.
Yeah.
Because most of the company, not most, but like I was thinking, I think it's called Talas, Talas. They're a bookmaking, they mainly sell bookmaking materials, but they also sell papers. And you
Oh,
can
that's
buy
a
for $10 or $15 a sample of watercolors. And the other place would be, I think like Dick Blick and places like that may have it too.
Okay, that's good to know. Great.
But you can get, sample pieces. I would even be tempted to call, if they don't have it, try calling the company and seeing if they could help you out with that.
That's a great idea.
Because
So while we were all playing here, talking here, I played with the iridescent colors. Let me show you what happened. This Candy, I was inspired by you. I think I can do it better on my document camera here.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Yes.
Because it's on Amazon. The one that she was just showing as an example in the box, and it's called the the Legion Mini Pad Sampler.
Okay, cool.
And there's 12 Stonehenge pads in it.
Sweet. So this is using the Daniel Smith iridescent colors.
Nice.
And I just did a really quick indigo. I just made the circle with the indigo, and then the shadow I used, I'm using the dot cards. So I used the bloodstone. which was more interesting than the pure black as this edge. And then what did I use? I played around with, finally ended up with this gave the best effects. That's that purpley bluey thing going on. That's kind of fun. I used interference blue, but it acted more like a gouache. It actually really stands out. So that I had to remove it. So that was really fun. So get these dot cards if you want to play, because these are super expensive paints. Those and the Primatex, you know, they can be $20, $25 a tube, some of them. So this is a cheap way to play. Thank you for that tip, Candy. Yeah, there you can see the iridescence. Right now it's funny because it's really, really wet on the moon. So it's actually embossed. It's actually sticking up.
Oh, neat.
So it is, I'm sure it'll dry flat. This is 300-pound paper. Okay, let me turn that off. I think we're going to wrap up.
I'd like to ask a quick question.
Sure.
What are the artist trading cards?
Oh, those are fun. Let me see if I can pull mine out. See if I have any to hand. Hold on. No, I'm not. They're not going to be able to put my hands on them, but they're it's a certain size and it's somewhat standardized. And at conferences and things, and you guys chime in if I get this wrong, people paint them up and then you trade them out. You know, you give me one, I'll give you one. So you paint a bunch in advance of going to a conference or a workshop series, and it's really cute. And they also make just really fun. They make them so they can slide them into little frames. Oh, hang on. Like this.
Oh, nice.
And it's a note card.
Oh, neat.
And so it slides into a pocket in the back.
Fun.
Yeah. So, well, thank you, everyone. This was fun. Oh, Danny, go ahead and speak up, Danny. Oh, there we go. She's got.
This is a pack of them. So the artist trading cards.
Oh, okay.
And it says, join the movement, artist trading cards. Create, swap, and collect. And they're 2.5 by 3.5.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that mine are, that's the same one, same set.
Notice mine are not open yet.
Mine are toned. This is toned paper, which I'm not usually.
Oh, that's cool.
I don't usually use, but I found it was really fun for using the ochre, the earth pigments. So it came out really nice for that. So what should we do next? We have a small group here. What do you guys want to do next?
There were some ideas on Padlet, but I don't have that open.
Let me just read them off. Let's see. Techniques for cirrus clouds. That one's come up several times. Another idea was to, let's see, would be to say ahead of time, we say, all of us pick 5 days in a row or however many days in a row, and then do a little skyscapito, moonscapito, whatever, sky, doesn't matter, dark, light, one a day, and then from the same view. So, you know, pick a spot. I thought that might be fun. It might kind of go get us back into the nature journaling thing too, of observation, and try to name the clouds that you're seeing. I've got a free workshop on my website for cloud spotting and how to read the clouds and the weather. So you can look that up. What else? Other ideas?
I have one about painting like iridescence or you know, when you see the colors in the sky, but it's not the rainbow, like you can see sundogs.
Oh,
also a rainbow, that sort of thing, or sometimes you see the iridescence in the clouds.
uh-huh.
And how you paint that without it looking artificial?
Yeah, that would be a good one. We'd have like,
That's a challenge.
who knows how to do that? I'm not sure I do. We can all
You
just
know,
try it. We can all just try it.
yeah.
That's kind of what this group is about, right? It's not about a workshop. It's about experimenting. Northern Lights, someone says. I'm going to be doing a lot of Northern Lights. I think I'm going to do that for Christmas cards. I'll let you know. We're all going to have to go ask, was it, oh my gosh, was it Avery? Who had the Northern Lights? Why did I just forget? Susan. Yeah, we're going to have to get tips from you on doing Northern Lights.
Yeah, I'm new, I'm Ellen, and I put in the chat that I have a few Northern Lights to show.
Oh, great. Oh, you want to show them right now?
Yeah, I could just do them very quickly.
Also, and those, don't forget to put these on the Padlet, please. Let me spotlight Ellen. And while she's doing that, I'm going to put the Padlet again in the chat, please. Ooh, now see, that's fab.
Very nice.
And can I say how I did it? Like what came first and how wet it was, because I did it a few years ago and I wasn't thinking about what came first, what came next.
Mm-hmm.
I just knew that I wanted, it worked better if there was just a thin line of no paint between the mountains and the sky.
Uh-huh.
I remember wanting to do that.
Nice.
And then I have crazy wild.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if you can
wow.
see it.
We lost your light. There isn't a light on you anymore. There you go. Now try it again. Yeah. Oh, wow. Crazy. I think your paper might be blocking the light.
Let's see. Maybe I can get my technical person to help.
That's better. I think it's just, I think it's trying to expose on the white.
Yeah, that's probably it.
But that's
And
really
where do you live at?
I'm in Oakland, California.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so what paints did you use?
Oh, gee, let me see if I wrote that down. I probably watercolor, but sometimes I add some gouache. But I think this was a watercolor base. Right, yeah. And of course, I've seen the Northern Lights, but I don't think I was going from photos. I think I was going from calendar pictures. This is night, probably midnight sun. I don't know.
Beautiful.
See it?
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I just want to say thank you so much. I'm so inspired by it. I want to go out and buy all these things now. That
raises a question that I had.
Sure.
Because I'm never going to see Northern Lights down here. And the way our winter's been going, I haven't seen a cloud for the past week. Even. So I'm wondering, does anyone know of a good source for pictures that I could look up on the internet that aren't copyrighted, so that I can not worry about sharing them?
I'm going to put a link, one of my favorite sources in the chat right now. Let me go pull that if anyone else wants to share any as well. But for like really cool scenics, I use these for my workshops quite a lot. And let me get that.
While you're pulling that up, I love the idea of doing the 5 days. But with Christmas coming up for a lot of us, or Hanukkah, you know, we might not have the time to do 5 days.
That's true. What could be any number of days, and so what we did last time that worked really well. We'll put all these ideas into the Padlet, and if you guys don't mind, you know, I'll send an email out with the recording and all this, and reminding you. The links to the Padlet are always on the Skyscapito page, and all this is on there. And then have you like vote by liking, you know, so I'll put in all these ideas, luminescence, northern lights, things like that. Might be fun to do
Or
some
other ideas.
free stuff. Yeah, winter stuff might be fun because, you know, like stormy, snowy, northern lightsy, things like that. So we'll put them up there and then vote, and we'll see. I'm kind of wondering if we're not even going to get a December one in. I'm looking at December and I think it's going to be gone instantly.
It's going to be hard for me too.
Yeah, I've got lots of deadlines for the Desert Lab on Tumamoc Hill to get stuff done before we all leave for the, you know, the U of A shuts down, and it's like, so we'll see. Likely we'll probably just wait till January.
Okay.
Does that seem cool with everybody? Yeah. Wonderful. This was fun. I kind of like my luminescent cloud. I'm going to cut it out. I mean, my moon.
Well, I learned a lot today.
Yeah, it was fun. Thank you, everybody. So we will, I'll send out the recording probably tomorrow. It's a super busy week for me. So anytime I say I'm going to do something this week, it usually means I'm going to be a day or two late. I can't just, it's a hard week. So thank you, everybody. This was fun. It's very, very relaxing and inspiring. So, and I'm glad more of you are sharing and getting over the hump, because it's really fun. And I too feel like if I just relax and play, I often do the best stuff. So that's kind of what these are about. Let's just play. I've made some interesting blobs doing skies.
Well, happy winter solstice to everybody. Now, maybe that would be a time we could
That's
do our drawing. Yeah, the 21st, 22nd.
So maybe everybody think about doing some sort of solstice thing that we could share in January. That might work. And don't forget, you can just make it up. Doesn't have to be something you see. Make up your own northern lights. Let's have some southern lights. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Super fun.